Hello, everyone. You're back with Holistic Pet Care with Dr. O, and I'd like to welcome you to our next episode that is so exciting. We have to remind everyone that holistic pet care is not meant to diagnose, treat, prevent, or cure any ailments whatsoever. And if you're having any problems with your animals, any illnesses, any questions, seek medical help with your veterinarian immediately. Okay, so close the computer, get to the veterinarian. You can watch this later. So we are super lucky today to have Jamie Barilla and her pit bulls with us today, and we're going to be discussing the role that pit bulls have played throughout history, past, present, and who knows, maybe future. We don't even know. But the important role of our beloved pit bulls throughout history and how they may have become into a more negative light in the recent years, and the injustices and such that has caused. So Jamie is quite an expert in this field, so we're going to welcome her right now. Jamie, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sullivan.
So tell us what you're going to be talking about today, my dear.
Well, I think we'll start with the history of the pit bull and how they started and how they got to where they are today. And what will happen to them in the future.
Yeah.
What we can do about that.
And so I don't think that a lot of people, including me, when I first started doing this historical projects with you, had any idea how far back the history of the pit bull, or what we consider the modern pit bull, went, and what it is that we've done to this breed throughout time. So your information is going to be awesome. So I'm going to shut up and hand it over to you, Jamie.
Thank you.
There's Diesel.
Sucky. Actually, the pit bull type dog, as we know them today, was created in England by some breeders that crossed the Old English Bulldog with a game terrier. And the original pit type dog was created basically for baiting, bear baiting and bull baiting. That was a blood sport for gambling. And
Jamie, what exactly is baiting? Are you baiting the bear in so the humans can kill it, or are you baiting it so the dogs kill it, or is it just entertainment? I honestly have never figured that out with the bear baiting, the bull baiting, something like lion baiting when Africa and stuff. I honestly don't know. Can you clear that up for me?
Yeah, the dogs would grab onto the bull or the bear or whatever, and sometimes the humans would kill it, and sometimes the dogs would eventually kill it. The old butchers, it was actually thought required at one point for the bulls to be baited before they could be meat. It was ridiculous, but yeah, the dogs would grab and hold on, and then the butcher would kill it. They thought it made the meat tender, which I don't understand. Nasty, huh?
Ew. Okay, that's ew. That's just a flat out ew, right? And so these bulls and everything else, they went through a ton of aggravation, pain, and fear, and apparently that made their meat more tender. That doesn't even make any sense, does it?
Not at all. Not at all. So anyway, baiting didn't. These dogs were also used for dog fighting at that point, and I think it was 1835, British Parliament finally outlawed the whole bloody mess of baiting and dog fighting.
Okay, good.
And then England picked up ratting, which was another nasty sport. The pit in the pit bull name actually comes from the sport of ratting, where they put a whole bunch of rats in a pit with some mesh over the top, and they bet on how many rats the dog could kill in a minute or a certain length of time. So, yeah.
What? That's nuts, right? So, wow, yuck. Okay, it further ado. But we said that Parliament outlawed baiting and outlawed dog fighting. Is that correct?
Yeah, in 1835 in England, yeah. But it was still legal in America. And at that time, pits had been brought to America, these type dogs, and they were still in America, and dog fighting was alive and well in America.
Okay.
And it continued in America. It began to lose favor in the early 1900s, I think, because the pit bulls had by then charmed their way into the Americans' hearts. They were recognized for other traits and good characteristics and good things. They could be good farm dogs, hunters, work dogs, and companion dogs. So from, I'd say, 1900 to about 1940, the pit bull represented everything thought to be good about America. They were sort of an American icon. They were in.
Really? Really?
Mhm.
That's great news. So how long were they here before that transition started to take place? 40 years, 50 years? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, at least. There's early reports somewhere around maybe 1820.
Okay.
They started somewhere. Um, but I don't know if you can see this. If I hold this up, I don't know if you'll be able to see it all. This is small. Can you see that at all?
Pick it up. There you go.
It has a small World War I poster.
Oh, yeah, I can see it. That's great.
And the pit bull is in the middle representing America.
All right.
But
Wow.
the other countries are the German Dachshund, the English Bulldog, I think the Irish Wolfhound, and who's the other guy? Um, the French Bulldog. Those are the other countries. And the pit bull is the American in the middle. So that was from World War I. You had
Wow.
other advertising in the early 1900s. Buster Brown shoes.
Oh, yeah. Buster Brown shoes. Yeah.
The RCA dog is a pit bull. All kinds of pictures like this from back then, family photos where the pit bull was hugely involved.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, I love that. I love that. And then what was the show with the kids with the pit bull with the big black ring around its eye? Wasn't that a pit bull?
It was our gang's Little Rascals Petey.
Right, right, right. Petey from Little Rascals, right. So an icon of hanging out with the kids and being a part of the family in a very passive type way, I'm guessing, but definitely a part of the family. And I love the fact that it represented America in posters for patriotism and such. Isn't that quite a change, huh?
Totally. That type of pit bull with the flag wrapped around him was also in another poster called, I think it was Waiting and Watching during World War I, as if he was the symbol for, our guardian kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. That's oh gosh. So you had told me in our past together that these guys also served in the military, or they had some pretty amazing achievements in the military over the course of time.
They did. A lot of them were used in war. In the World Wars, yes, but it dates back to wars even in Europe, even farther back than then. The pit bulls, or maybe their ancestors, small mastiff types.
Okay, okay,
So
yeah,
yeah,
that makes sense.
they were used in a lot of wars. As this country began to become more urbanized, other breeds became popular, and the pit bull kind of fell out of the media's eye for 30 years, maybe. Um, they just didn't. I don't know. Maybe the need for the strong type working breed wasn't as strong as it had been in the past. They were still around, but they didn't resurge in the media until 1976, when that
Okay,
media campaign was launched to support the fighting amendment to the Animal Welfare Act. They were trying to get that passed.
right, 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 right. Now, these pits or their ancestors come to this country, and you're saying fighting was going on, but then they kind of changed into the family dog and the country's icon and advertising and a lot more, much more positive type thing, right? And then they fall away. They just kind of go away for a bit for public view, and
They
then
just,
they.
I'm sorry, yes, they just kind of fell out of public view during the 60s and 70s. People didn't hear of them as much until like 76 when that media campaign was launched, and it had unintended consequences. They showed, well, they actually demonized the dog instead of the dog fighters, which was what they were trying to do to get that amendment passed. But they showed pictures like this. You see this?
Yeah, I see it. We see it. Yep, yep, yep. Yeah, that's
And
not. Yeah.
that sprung all the the urban myths, and the locking jaws, that the height pressure, a lot of images of these big, muscular, superhuman or super dogs that weren't their grandfather's farm dogs anymore. The
Well,
backpack.
did that image actually have like a little like blood around the mouth and stuff like that? That's yeah. And so you're saying that image was used for an animal rights bill or an animal welfare bill, and they were using images like that? Is that right?
Yes, because they wanted to get the amendment added to the Animal Welfare Act that outlawed fighting, made it a federal offense, dog fighting.
Yeah.
So, you know, they meant well, but it gave the public, this image of this kind of dog, and along with that kind of reputation in a dog, it made the bad guys want the dog even more.
Yes, bad guys, bad guys. Now that's kind of the bad guys are where you really shine, isn't it? Unfortunately, for your kind of life experience with bad guys. And then I think, if I recall right, that's where you kind of got your love and attachment to this breed, as I did. But yeah, go. What about the bad guys, and how come they got hold of these dogs?
Um, it was a time when drug dealers and dog fighters and criminals and gangsters were emerging and adopting status symbols. They were finding themselves with more money due to the crack cocaine epidemic and this distribution of crack cocaine. And the pit bull, with its newly found or refound bad reputation, seemed to be the dog they wanted.
Right. Hmm.
So that, unfortunately, the dog became in demand and really popular with this type of element.
And
It was kind of a status dog, and status dog owners are motivated by image or personal status or personal gain. And there's actually a recent book that came out on this phenomenon. The cover is horrible. It's called Unleashed by Simon Harding. Can you see that?
oh yes, unfortunately, I can see that. That's
It's horrible.
Yeah, that's unpleasant, isn't it? My God.
But
So
it explores the phenomenon of status dogs and weapon dogs. And there's controversy on it, but I think it does a pretty good job of explaining it.
okay, so this is a supportive for the dog book, because it looks pretty horrible, doesn't it? I guess that'll get people to buy it, but it's a supportive thing, right?
Basically, he's just trying to explain it and the phenomenon and the social implications of it and how it all happened. It's pretty factual as far as I can tell.
Okay, all right. So how now I personally I have my big black pit bull and I love him to death, and he is I know this is the owner talking, but he's the kindest, sweetest, coolest dog I really have run across. And just regardless of, he's been through many surgeries, many painful things, many disease process, many, just a lot of stuff. And not once has he behaved in a way that many of my other patients and my personal dogs have in the past. So my personal experience with these guys, either as a veterinarian, as a shelter worker, as a founder of a rescue for large breed dogs, or as a pit owner. Um, of the breeds on my shelf, they're not the one I'm worried about. They never are. And their personalities and their constitutions are just something to be admired as far as I'm concerned. There's not that freak out factor at all. And I don't honestly know of many people in the veterinary medical field that feel that way about this breed of dog at all, because we're one-on-one, face-to-face, hands-on with these guys, and we don't have that problem. Speaking for a whole trade, but in my personal experience with my sweetheart, I've never seen him do anything that I've seen almost every one of my other dogs do that has got me to raise an eyebrow. So I know that you have a couple of them yourself, so how do we convey to the listening, watching public that how wonderful these damn dogs are?
Throughout history, they've been bred to be super tolerant of humans, and they have an absolute strong bond with us.
Yep.
They need us. They prefer us to other dogs even.
Right. Right.
They're just awesome. When I was working in law enforcement, I would run across these dogs in drug houses that weren't treated very well, were possibly abused, often outside on chains. And I didn't know a lot about pit bulls back then in the early 90s. I was astonished that they were so happy and so grateful for any human attention.
Yeah.
No matter what kind of life they had.
Right. 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 And your exposure to these dogs when you were doing that kind of work, I can imagine was somewhat miserable, and that these dogs, they were stuck in horrible situations and didn't have a lot of folks advocating for them and such. But then when they got out of these terrible situations for whatever reason, did you guys ever have any problems with them, or did you guys end up adopting them and taking them home?
We adopted them and took them home. We really did a lot of them, a lot of them, because they were just great dogs. It's they're so easy to bond with. They really are. It's great, and it's so sad that they fell into the wrong hands back then. By 1987 is when it kind of all came to another head. By then, the bad guys had been kind of in control of some of these pit bulls for over a decade.
Okay.
And they had bred some aggression into them. They'd abused them to make them aggressive. They wanted them to be aggressive, not only to animals, but some of them wanted them to be aggressive toward humans. And there was a string of attacks that were highly publicized in the media that brought about 2 magazine articles. This is one of them, very famous, from July of 1987, Sports Illustrated.
No,
Beware.
no kidding. No kidding. Wow. Wow.
Now, I read the article. It says, beware of this dog. Brindle, teeth barred, evil-looking dog. I read the article, and it's more fair and balanced than this cover would tell you. But this cover was what set the trend. It just, it set the trend. And for a long time, brindle pits were the last to be adopted. And this shows a brindle. There was also, that same month, there was a Time magazine article called Time Bomb on Legs about the pit bull.
Well, now, what's that all about, Jamie? Was that just about the pits doing, having attacks, or were there fight rings broken up, or the public need for this stuff, or did the super civilians such as myself just find out about these things and it was, if it bleeds, it leads type stuff? Or what do you think about that? Because it's shockingly unfair representation of these dogs.
Yeah, I think it was the fact that some dog fighters had been arrested and given some pretty graphic accounts of dog fighting, and then there were some attacks that got a lot of media. And, they were attacks by dogs who had been improperly bred, raised, treated, trained. These are strong dogs. We don't want them to attack people, and they don't want to. But when it happens, it can be bad, and the media grabs it. To this day, the media will say, they'll report any dog bite incident as either pit bull attack or dog attack. And it's only dog attack if there's no way they can say there's any pit bull in that dog. It will be dog attack. So.
And so you've had enough experience, as I have, with if you have any kind of thing that even looks like it's got a thick head, it looks like it's got a big front on it, that people call it a pit or a pit cross. And then when folks that actually know pits, or folks that actually know dogs to some degree, they'll look at these dogs and go, that's not a pit, but they're just not. These dogs are not pits, or they might be a crossbreed. But if you get any kind of big jowl, any kind of, square nose, any kind of thickness in the front end, they're called a pit. And that, that's, like you're saying, the pit attack, or the pit this, or the pit that, and it just automatically brings, for some people, including parts of my family, these horrible images of these dogs, and it makes me nuts, to be honest with you. But Jamie, you also have some really cool stories about some commendations that these dogs have had over time, and some of these humongous, what are they, drug busts and such, or just really good law enforcement and military commendations, right? These dogs they're celebrated. They're wonderful dogs, yes?
Yeah, I want to talk about that, but first I wanted to say that going back to these articles that came out in 87, it kind of cemented this new bad reputation of the pit bull.
Okay.
And more rumors were spawned, and people actually thought that this was such an unpredictable breed. They were unstable, and they would turn on you at any time. They could just snap on. After one of these stories came out, or one of these attacks, 300 were turned in shelters in California by owners who were suddenly terrified of their family pets. This is what the media.
Oh my gosh. Have you can that's like a media hysteria? Is that fair to say, in your opinion? It's my opinion. I absolutely believe that's a media hysteria, and that
Absolutely.
a life or death decision for your family dog. And Jamie, have you ever run into one that is like that at all in all of your time in these worst situations? I myself have not. Have you ever had one that came and tried to kill you?
No, I've seen some that are very animal aggressive, but
Yeah.
I can honestly say I haven't seen many that can truly be said to be human aggressive.
Right, right.
Um, you know, it took a while, but going back to what they do good, Sports Illustrated did redeem themselves by, it took them into 2008, but they did a story on the Michael Vick dogs and how they were able to be rehabilitated after being so badly abused and fought. And they did a great story. This was the cover, the difference in the pit bull, the way it looked.
Oh yeah, that isn't that better? Isn't that more of a fair and equitable view of these dogs?
This dog was actually one of the Vic fighting dogs.
Yeah. Do you know which one it was?
Her name was Jasmine.
Jasmine. Yeah, she's pretty amazing.
Yeah, yeah. But they did a great story on that in 2008. And the guy who wrote this story also wrote a book because he followed, I think, called Lost Dogs, because he followed that story.
What's that book called? Did you just
Lost
tell?
Lost Dogs, I believe.
I think I saw that book. Does it have like a red cover? I think I saw that when I was in California. I
Yes.
thought he did a great job on that book, I believe. I remember seeing that. And then where did those many of those guys went up to
Best,
the Best Friends Animal Sanctuary, right? And then we have a couple of those dogs are therapy dogs now.
yes. They went to Best Friends. They also went to Bad Rap, who did a lot for them. They're agility dogs, therapy dogs. Most of them are doing great.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
just how resilient this breed is.
They're well, and the atrocities that can be put upon dogs in general, but especially these dogs, because like you said, with the status symbol, and everyone wants the biggest, toughest trucks, dogs, Harleys, guns, whatever it is, and the pit bull is a big ass, tough looking dog. That visual, like you said, I think was part of their doom. So the atrocities are just, the humans just really need to get it straight because these are wonderful dogs. Um, as of
Absolutely.
course,
And I don't want them to go away like some people would like them to. And I think we need to stand up and fight for them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I couldn't agree with you more with that. I mean, being able to stand up and advocate for these dogs and that speak the truth as you're doing right now to the world and saying these dogs have wonderful history. These dogs have a great history in many countries, and they've only served us in our, unfortunately, in many of our sicknesses and our selfishness. But and then pit bulls are not the only dogs that get in trouble, but pit bulls are the dogs that get the fame for it. Yes.
At the moment, there have been demonized dogs in the past. The Bloodhound was feared and hated because of the stories of it chasing down slaves, and the German Shepherd and the Rottweilers were demonized for a while, and the pit bull is the dog of the moment.
So can we get a better look at yours? I can only see a little snout right there.
Goofball. Sit up. There she is. Can you see her now? A little bit?
Oh, there she is. There she is. She is just so darn cute. She's so cute. She's got so much energy. She's ridiculous. Oh, I love her. She's great. So what is she doing for a living these days?
She's doing a little bit of training. She's doing agility. A lot of couch potatoing.
So tell me about how you personally, throughout, with your history and all of your experience, how is it that you approach somebody who is afraid or literally terrified of anything that looks like a pit bull? What do you say to support your dogs and also advocate for the breed and also educate and inform people and help them get past their ignorance about this?
Well, like you said, it's all about the education. If they knew the history of the dog and what brought it to this point and how it got the reputation that it got, And then if they actually met a pit bull, I think that would make a huge difference if they just spent some time. Um, you know, I think these breed-specific legislation, um, the laws that are being passed in many towns banning pit bulls are mainly fueled and supported by people who don't know them, who
Right.
only
So
know that.
can you define what breed specific legislation is? Because I know there's people out there that don't know what it means and also don't know where it's going on, and not knowing that we're right next to a state that has extremely amazing rules that ban these dogs. It's profiling. Yes, it's profiling. So go ahead and what's your definition of what is the definition of that breed specific legislation?
Any municipality or state can pass laws that tell you what breed of dog you can have and can't have, or what restrictions there might be if you do have this dog. And the pit bull is the subject of many of them, most of them I would say, and pit type dogs. The thing is, the animal warden or the animal officer or whoever he is gets to decide if you have a pit bull or if you have that type of dog or not. He's the judge, based probably on the way your dog looks, and he's, they are able to come to your home and take your dog with you.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's where I'm going to start getting insta-pissed here. So, don't you need a search warrant to get into somebody's house? I mean, when it comes right down to it, why is somebody allowed my house? I mean, why are they allowed to take my property? Because the dogs are property in this country, I believe. Everywhere you go, they're property. So how is that legally okay? Because you're violating some municipality's law, and so they can actually come into your house. I think there's a constitutional amendment against that. I'm sorry, but I hate to get like so conspiracy theory, but what the hell's up with that, man? That's not okay.
Yeah, no, it's not okay. And I don't think that they will barge into your house if you say no, but they will demand your dog or else, you give us the dog or you be arrested, you be fined, there's going to be some sort of consequence.
Yeah, yeah. Ugh. Ugh. And that really is based on one person in power's perception of what your dog may just look like. Is that right? I mean, that's extreme. I get it. That's extreme, but that that's an okay thing?
Absolutely true.
Oh boy. And so how do we have to stand up to that? Yes, we have to, what do we do? We get our dogs temperament tested, we get them well trained, we get them good citizen. What do we do to try and to basically fight for our dogs, fight for this breed of dog which is so mislabeled?
We need to stay involved. We need to know if any of that type of legislation is proposed in our area. We need to contact our lawmakers if it is. And it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it opens a dialogue about these dogs, and it gets the word out that they're not what some people propose they are.
Yeah.
But we need to be involved. And we also need, my plea to pit bull owners is that we need to be better. We need to protect our dogs first, number one. And, if a pit bull gets into a dog fight, they probably didn't start it, but they're going to be blamed for it. So we can't let that happen. We just can't let that happen.
That was perfect timing. That was awesome.
We need to socialize and train these guys too. They just need it. We can see a golden retriever or a Labrador retriever acting like an idiot on leash, bouncing around just because it's not socialized, it's not well trained, and it's not exercised. A pit bull acting the same way for the exact same reasons is going to be perceived a little differently.
Yeah, you're exactly right in that. When I'm trying to talk to people about these dogs, with the responsibility that we have with owning these dogs, and I think all dogs, but more so these guys because they're who they are, I always tell people it's like owning a loaded gun. It's completely legal. It just takes a lot of time, a lot of training, a lot of attention, and you are 100% responsible for it. So you just need to be a better gun owner, a better dog owner, and then get the right training, get the right precautions, and protect your friend and then advocate for them. So, owning any of these huge breed dogs or the dogs that have the potential to do damage, we have to train them. We have to be responsible for them, and we have to get them where they're not reactive and get them socialized, just like you're saying, and then protect them. That's just kind of my 2 cents on there. Sorry about that.
You're absolutely right. My first priority number one is protect them, because there are those that would hurt them,
Yes, it's
or,
so true.
or would not be as fair with them if they got into trouble.
Yeah, yeah. So back to the not so personal stuff, but the historical pieces of these guys. Tell me what has made the press for their historical accomplishments, other than that those horrible pictures recently, but then of course the nicer stuff about the redeeming the horrible stuff from the 80s. What have these dogs done that have got them acclaim and applause in this country? That is just, it's amazing the stuff these guys do.
Yeah, and you should. I mean, there's lots of little things every day that sometimes make the news, sometimes don't. But you can see the stories of the heroes, the dogs that saved their families. They are very brave, and throughout history, they've done almost anything we've asked them to do and excelled at it. They are search and rescue dogs. There were three very famous ones: Dakota, Cheyenne, and Tahoe. That they worked at 9/11 or on 9/11 at the World Trade Center and also the Pentagon. They can be police dogs. Probably not attack police dogs. That's not in them really to attack humans, but they're really good at finding explosives and things like that. They bark. There was one famous dog named Popsicle who was found on a raid in a drug dealer's freezer, nearly dead by police, and ended up going to custom school to be a canine. And he not only graduated, but graduated at the top of his class and made the largest drug bust to date at the Mexican border. He won all kinds of awards, and he went on Oprah.
Did you happen to see that?
I didn't. I didn't see it. I wish I had.
So this pit bull that was left in a freezer to die by bad guys goes to school, becomes a drug dog, and then goes and makes the largest narcotics bust in the history of this country. Did I just exaggerate that, or is that right?
In the history to that date at the border. That date at the border. And it was, I think, over 3,000 pounds of cocaine in a pineapple truck. So, it's significant.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Isn't that amazing? Now, the dogs at 9/11 that you were talking about, these were search and rescue dogs, I'm guessing, yes?
Yes.
So they're pure, just raw strength and resilience, and their pain threshold, which they do have, they've got a higher pain threshold than most dogs I've ever met. Their ability just to do work and wanting to please their people. They just want to please their people, make them perfect for service dogs. And when I was in Connecticut during 9/11, and we took care of some of the dogs that were, ripped open pads, glass wounds, inhalation wounds, those types of things. And I do believe there was one pit cross in there, and just, work themselves to exhaustion just to make their people happy, just to do a job, and never have anything go wrong. So I've got the utmost respect for those guys. Now, if you were to tell people that want help with their pitties, that want to advocate for their pitties, that want really good, like you're saying, fair and equal-minded commentary or press on pitties, what would you tell people? How would you advise them?
Well, I hope in the future that we take back our voice from the media, and we don't allow things like that to get blown out of proportion, and we do speak up for ourselves and our dogs. Stay involved, be educated, fight BSL breed-specific legislation. There are right now over 600 cities, I think, that ban pit bulls or restrict them extremely.
Yeah.
And we have to We have to get them we have to polish their image. We have to make them better even.
Yeah, yeah. See, or even just the perception of safety, the perception of a more well-behaved creature, those types of things. Like you're saying, polish their image, and we do that through obedience training, don't we? Don't we do that through making sure that they're on us all the time, paying attention, not being? They have to be more well-behaved, more polished. They have to be like the Navy SEALs of the military, where you never even think that they're taking a step out of line, just to try to work on getting back up some safety, some image where people aren't just freaked out for no reason, and that's what I think it is.
Yeah, it really is. We just have to make sure they're very well mannered in public because we are under intense scrutiny. I
Yes,
mean,
yeah.
we just really are, and it's not fair, I know, but it's there, and we have to deal with it and fix it.
Well, you know, that's the way it is for some people, some groups of people, some classes of people, and I think I've said this to you before, Jamie, is that it would be really great if we could go through our relationships like we were blind. You know, if our first urge when we saw something that looked like a pit wasn't to freak out and pass judgment, if we could behave that way in most of our relationships, I think things would go a hell of a lot better. I mean, I really do. And I think that would be a lot more fair for our pity friends, because they're being passed judgment on them 24/7 and being euthanized more often. And God help us, we have a black pit bull. That puts them at the end of the row for everything. And I think you and I both own black pit bulls, don't we?
And I had some Brindles, which are also at the end of the road, too. Maybe
Yeah,
not now, but back then, after that magazine came out.
the
We just
brindles.
Brindle, too, yeah.
Yeah. So I want to thank you very much for your time and your expertise. And I know that you spend a lot of time training these guys and helping people in their relationships with these guys, and really increasing their knowledge base and decreasing their ignorance and their bias against these guys. So in parting, do you have anything else that you want to tell everyone that's going to view this or look at this in the future about how they can either be more open-minded or advocate for these guys? Because I think those are the only two things we can do, right? But you're the pros, so just tell the world what you think about pit bulls and how we can help them.
First of all, we need to, again, stand up for them, educate, educate, educate. Make sure that they are little ambassadors of their breed. Please advocate for spay and neuter. I know that there are really good breeders out there, there really are, but there are many, many pit bulls put down every day that are very adoptable just because there aren't enough homes for them.
Right, right.
They're just, the shelters are full of them.
Right. You're right. You're right. You're right. Okay. Well, we could go on and on and on with this because both Jamie and myself are lovers of this breed, and she's so much more tolerant than I am. I can feel myself getting all agitated by this. So just like Jamie said, spay and neuter, love a pit. If you've got one, please get it extremely well trained, both you and your dog. Be in public as an ambassador and a well-polished version of this breed, even if it looks like a pit and you know it's not. It doesn't matter. It's the image. And then share this information with everyone you know. And if you've got a pit that can be, let's see, a therapy dog, one that can be a visiting dog, one that can just go out. And if people say to you, "Can I pet your dog?" and it's a safe thing to do, I don't see why not, you know, because if people are trying, you want to try to help them, you know, because we need to spread the word, and we're the only ones that can do it. We're the only ones. We can remember that our pets, especially our pits here, no choice, no voice. They depend on us to advocate for them. So I want to ask everybody that's listening to like us on Facebook and give us your comments on these guys. Help us spread the word to everybody. Twitter, we've got that too, Dr. ODVM, and this lovely YouTube page here. And then we are on Blog Talk Radio every Tuesday morning. So if you have a subject you want to talk about, if you feel impassioned by something, let us know through social media so we can make sure to get to you about that. And once again, Jamie, thank you very much, and I hope you have a wonderful day with your doggies.
Thank you, Dr. Sullivan.
I'll talk to you later.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Goodbye, everyone, and thank you for watching and listening. And please spread the good word. Be positive. Be an advocate, and go out and pet a pit bull someday soon. Okay? Thank you very much for watching.